Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors, news, and theories from a galaxy far, far away. Support us on Patreon for exclusive offers and join the Star Wars discussion. Patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
You're always scum. Rebel Scum.
Ooh, Rebel Scum. Here we are on our own once again. I'm Brock. This is
White Snake.
White Snake. Star Wars. What's up, James? What is up?
Wow, we got Acolyte in less than 2 months coming up. We got you and I are going to talk some video game stuff that's coming.
Yeah.
And neither one. Have you played Jedi Fallen Order 2, whatever it's called?
Jedi Lost or something?
It's called
No.
Jedi Survivor. Yeah.
Jedi Survivor. That's it.
Yeah, no, I haven't either because I don't have a PlayStation 900. You know what? Because I don't have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox. What's the new Xbox called?
Xbox Series X, I think, or there's a bunch of different versions, but it's the tall boy.
Yeah, like I would, if I saw it, I would know exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what it's called because I also don't have that. But I wanted to talk, before we get into Star Wars, I needed to talk to you about something. I didn't bring this up in our pre-ramble before we hit record. But I wanted to ask you this because I know, because there's a video game out that I've never played, and I know you are a massive fan of, and you've kind of told me that I probably wouldn't like it, so I haven't touched it. But I know you are a massive fan, and there's a TV show now, and it dropped at Prime, and it's Fallout. And I wanted to ask you if you've seen it, because I have seen. Here's what I've seen. I've seen two sides. I've seen people say that it's not very good, but I've also seen it's incredible. They did everything from the video game correctly. And then the one that I like the best, the one review that really struck me is it makes me want to play the game.
Yeah.
So I just want to know, and that was my favorite one. I'm like, I haven't seen it yet. But like, if you're doing a video game movie, that's kind of what you want from it. So I just want to know if you've seen it, your thoughts, because I know you're a big Fallout fan. I don't know if I even said what it was called yet, but it's Fallout is the game.
It's Fallout, yeah. Which is a huge series that's been around for a while, but got really prolific in the last 10 years. Made by Bethesda, which also makes Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls games, which are huge as well. I have watched it, and I've also almost completed the series. It came out yesterday, and I have absolutely crushed it. I love it. I agree with the last review you said. It's like, it does make me want to like get out my Xbox, which I haven't played in a while, and play like Fallout and Fallout 3. I forget which ones are the Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 are the ones there's a bunch, but I think Fallout 3 was Xbox 360. But anyways, the most current ones, I have them, and I can't part with them, right? Like, it's like, if I'm going to have an Xbox, I have to have that copy. Like, so it's, I would argue, yeah, it makes me want to play the game again. And the beauty of this series is, like, it doesn't technically follow any of the storylines you've seen in the game, but it's very, like, adjacent. Because, like, in the third one, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening, the third one takes place in Washington, D.C. Because that's one of the cool things about that game is, like, you actually go to places, right, that exist. They look a little different, but they look like they got hit with an atom bomb. But, like, there's, like, you can go, in that one, you can go to the Washington Monument, I think the Lincoln Monument, and, like, actual places like neighborhoods and roads that you hear. And then the one right after that, which I think is Fallout 4 or 5, or I can't remember, is in Boston. So it's like there's actual, like, I think Wrigley Stadium is like a base or something like that. So my point is, like, the story can fit kind of together and not have anything to really relate to the other iterations of the games, because, like, it's in this state and then this state, and then this one it's in California. So it's just like it fits. It's like the idea of like you are a vault dweller that thinks that the world is like nothing, and then you leave the vault and it turns out the world kept turning, and like it's a weird like Mad Max apocalypse, whatever. So the story is similar to that. I actually kind of like it because like the main character actually talks. You know, it's like the main character in the games is you. It's like a Link character that they never talk. They don't have like any character. You are the character, right? So it's kind of cool to actually hear that character talking. But I think it's really good. It's got Walter Goggins as a character that you see prior to like the world coming to an end and what he becomes later. So it's neat.
Oh, really?
Obviously, if I've watched 6 episodes already, like in 24 hours of it launching, I like it. I enjoy it. It's its own thing, but it still is very Fallout. Like I would say the attention to detail on certain things, like there's a thing called a stim kit, which is like how you get your life back if you've been hurt in the game. That looks exactly the thing. It's like a syringe. It looks exactly like in the show. So it's like you can love it or hate it, but I would argue it's pretty like true to the source material, and I highly suggest it. I enjoy it quite a bit.
And you're big on the source material. That's good to hear. So because I mentioned yesterday, because they dropped it 2 days early. It was supposed to come out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's weird.
They dropped it yesterday. Yeah, I think because the buzz has been actually very positive on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If you have it, why not drop it? Why not? Why not give me something to watch? But I wanted to ask you because I said, oh, it's going to be all at once, and you were like, oh, I like weekly. And my feeling is still I prefer weekly, but the one thing that I'm not enjoying is that they're not making a lot of these shows for weekly consumption. They're making it right? Like that's the one thing that we've been talking about a lot. So I just want to know, like, is this show, I mean, you've watched 6 episodes out of however many, but you've watched 6 episodes. I'm sure that's that's a lot. But is this like, aside from really enjoying it, is the story a binge show? Like, do the episode does it feel like when an episode ends, does it feel complete?
Yeah.
Or does it feel like Stranger? Because I love Stranger Things, but Stranger Things, it needs to be released all at once. Like, it needs that. So is it like that, or is it more like Mando season 1?
I think it works well as a binge show in like going on usually like what we rate as a binge show and an episodic show. It's probably better as a binge show because I don't think the episodes are very long. Like, to watch that many episodes in 24 hours, like, I didn't have a lot of free time today, but I just, I would argue it's probably a bingeable show, but it's so hard to gauge because it's like, I had one episode. I didn't have an opportunity of just watching one episode, right? Like, maybe episode 1 and 2 kind of blended into each other. I don't know. You know what? It actually also makes me think. I'm like, oh, they should make a game version of this show or whatever. So,
I'm actually looking forward to watching the show. I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm looking forward to just sitting down and checking it out. Maybe over the weekend I'll get to do that. We have a question from ABC Bros. Yeah. Have you guys played Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes? My brother-in-law and his brother are massive Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, like massive Brock. When I say massive, I mean they know the ins and outs of this thing. And I say, I don't know what you're talking about because I've never played it in my life. Yeah, but they are massive fans of that game.
This is the mobile Star Wars game, right?
I hope so because that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, it's. I think I wanted to say I tried it once and I thought it was cool, but I just like fell off some mobile gaming. If it's not Pokemon Go, I really can't keep attention on it, which is funny because you're on your phone all the time. But I love the idea because like it's true, like what you said is like there's a huge following because there's like 2 games for Star Wars that
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, I know my brother-in-law was like obsessed with it. I was like, I didn't realize that it was such a big game. I play like Scopa, like I just play cards on my phone. I don't play any other game. I used to do Pokemon Go when I lived in Civilization and there were Pokemon around. I didn't understand that you would have to help me out with it. But so I've still never played an actual Pokemon game. Pokemon Go is the only Pokemon I've ever played to this day.
Yeah.
And I've seen Detective Pikachu, and I quite enjoyed Detective Pikachu. I actually was like, that was an entertaining movie. When's the sequel coming out?
Yeah.
By the way, R-rated Ninja Turtle movie coming out.
Yeah.
Pretty excited. Look, I'm going to say a few things. One, I don't know if I need R rating for it, but I'm an adult, and I'm good with it. Those are the two things that I'll say right there. I don't know if I need it, but I'm okay with it. I'm excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited for this movie.
TMT Last Ronin, great story. So like, I mean, I think you could tell. It's a heavy story, so it's like let's keep it rated R because it's like it's got to be shocking and whatever. But really, Fallout, I give it 9 out of 10 stars. But really, the show to watch this week was episode 5 of X-Men 97.
Right.
That will destroy you and rebuild you. I've never watched a cartoon specifically that like made me feel feelings like this. Obviously there's like a nostalgia factor, but this is like the later half of this episode is so much like a movie. It's almost like an anime movie. Like the action and this like I have people that text me. I'm like, did you watch that? It's like I'm still thinking about it. So it's like
I want to know. I'm not going to see it anytime soon. I just want to know what happens in this thing. Like, because Andrew Fantasia's like, these people are going to write everything from now on, right? Like, what is going on? But I did see someone say that Bad Batch was better this week than X-Men 97. And I believe that was from someone who likes to just, those people that only like Star Wars and they want to pretend that everything is gold. Sometimes, you know what? I love Star Wars, but every once in a while, something is better than Star Wars. Let's be honest. Like, you get something that's a little bit strong. And they don't have to be, you don't have to compare them either, right? You can enjoy, you can enjoy this week's Bad Batch and you can enjoy this week's X-Men. And you can still say, I don't know what happened in X-Men, but I don't want to Google it, but I also am like, I kind of want to just Google this thing and find out.
One cool thing that X-Men 97 did that was like episode 3 was really like, oh wow. And then the episode 4 was sort of like 2 mini episodes about something completely different. And then episode 5 was just like, bam! Like, I was like, whoa. So it's sort of like, you sit there and you're like, is this a kid's cartoon? And I bet they're like, maybe kids will watch it, but like, it's definitely like, the audience is us, like the kids that grew up with it, and they're like, yeah, like the nostalgia, but it's not the nostalgia factor anymore. It's like, that's how they get you in the door, and then it's wild. I can't wait to rewatch it with the Reham just to see what she thinks, because it's like, she was like, she saw episode 3 and she was like, wow, that was something.
Okay, without spoiling it, is there a scene where Storm says, do you know what happens to a toad?
I wish. She's lost her power, so she can't really say that right now.
Well, I mean, she could, because there could be still like a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
You don't know. Like, there could be like, that's Deadpool today. They CinemaCon was happening today, and Deadpool had a bunch of stuff shown. Yeah, there's just, you know what? I was looking forward to it. I still am, but it's just like what I kept seeing people post is like, it's all just, I'm going to show my age here, just like a ton of swearing. And I'm like, I don't like, look, Logan's a great movie, but I've always said there are times in that movie when Wolverine swears, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't need to throw that F-bomb in there. It just doesn't feel natural. It feels like you're doing it because you're allowed to, because you're rated R. And the first Deadpool, there's some stuff in it. I'm like, the second Deadpool, I actually enjoyed more. I'm the only one on the planet. But anyway, let's talk some Star Wars, Brock.
Let's do it. What's new in Star Wars?
Right, well, nothing new in Star Wars. So thanks everybody for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, you were always scum. We just end it. 14 minutes. Our strongest one yet.
The people like listening to just the audio are like, is it actually over? And then we come back.
Is it over? Yeah. No, Star Wars Outlaws. Actually, you know what? Let's do blind rankings first. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
We're going to talk Star Wars Outlaws, but first we got to do some blind rankings where I'm going to give you 5 things to rank blindly, and you're going to put them in the only correct order you could think of. Today's rankings are High Republic novels. Now, some of them might be
God.
graphic novels, and I might have screwed up, but I don't really know. So you can also type these in as I go. Into the Dark.
I just gotta remember because there's so many that are like in the dark, out of the shadows. I
Yeah,
think
they
I
were
know
all.
which one.
I noticed because I haven't read any of them, so I noticed that they
Mm.
were all like dark and light. Like there was like 20 of them that were dark and light. Like
Hold on. I think I know. Oh yeah, that's a Claudia Gray one. So I gotta put it high because I actually got to meet Claudia Gray.
yeah, and Claudia Grace is great.
But I'm gonna put it safely at number 3, just because it's like a rising action to a lot of other things. So it's like,
That's right.
but
Yeah, this is your list. I've never read any of these, so I have
mm.
no opinion whatsoever. Eye of Darkness. Eye of Darkness. Again, back
That's
to
like
the
a
dark.
newer one. Republic.
There was one that I wasn't sure if you read or not, so
Oh. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, that's like relatively new. It's actually I think the first book of this 3rd phase.
Ooh.
I'm gonna gamble and put this at number 2.
Eye of Darkness, number 2. The Rising Storm.
Because there's
I love the delay. I can hear my voice.
there's like this one's Eye of Darkness. There's the Eye of Darkness, and then there's also Eye of the Storm, and then this is the Rising Storm. The Captain Scott one.
Storm.
Trying to remember this one. I know I read it. I'm gonna put it at 4. Just I can't remember. I have
4.
a general idea what happened to
4 for the Rising
Storm. Yeah.
The Rising Storm, and what happens to a toad? A Test of Courage. A Test of Courage.
I think that's the end of the first phase. Test of oh I think this is the first Vanestra Row. I don't want to put it number 1 though. Shoot,
We got 5 and 1 left.
I'll put her at 5 because it's still it's important, but it's also like a young reader's one, so it's like
I wasn't sure like if the young reader ones are like there's some young reader books that I'm like, wow, that was way better than it should have been.
Like if I knew what was coming, it would be probably at number 3.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
even with Path of Deceit being your number 1.
Oh, Path of Deceit. Which one is that? Fucking
Path of Deceit. I don't know. I haven't read any of them. I do these for fun. Path of Deceit.
Actually, yes. This one is kind of a slog, but by the end, you're like, what?
Oh, okay.
This is like, I think this is the first one of phase 2, so it's a little confusing at first because you jump like 100 years into the past. So, it's a must read. It's one that like, it's like Dune. It's like Dune's like, oh, this is taking forever, and then you read the last 50, 75 pages. You're like, oh, what fun! That's pretty good.
They should make 2 movies out of this.
Yeah.
All right, those are ours. Let me know so your blind rankings are in the comments. Star Wars Outlaws, the new game by Ubisoft. You can buy it for Canadian $90 Canadian, or the gold edition for $150 Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those, Brock, come with free shipping from Walmart.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah, so free shipping from Walmart. I know people are up in arms about. Look, so I don't. This is open world, I believe, this game, which I don't know what that really means and whatever. But I watched the trailer. I thought the trailer looked fine. It did to me look like a scoundrel version of like Jedi Fallen Order. Like it looked like that. Like, and that's not a knock on it at all. It looked very similar to that. It's a game that if they released it on something that I had to play it on, I would probably look into buying it and looking into playing, because it looks like, I mean, this was a story trailer that they just dropped, but it looked like fun and it looked like Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean the look of it is just like, on point. Like, it's just the character design looks awesome, and I mean, who hates a scoundrel character with some kind of weird like creature following it around? So like, I'm in. But I do not have any of the systems that will be able to play.
Yeah, I'm never gonna play it, but it does look like a really good time. It looks like a fun game. People are mad at it. Star Wars video games, I will say they really need a win. I think like the Jedi Survivor games have been good.
Yeah.
Again, this is like EA had the rights to them for 10 years and they did nothing. We got Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, and then the 2 Jedi games 400 years later. Like, I don't know how they botched it up. And so Kira is in this game, Brock. I don't know if you know that, but Kira is back in this game. I don't know if she's voiced by Emilia Clarke or not. I'm not sure if that was announced, but Kira is in it. And I saw the news and people were going crazy, like, yeah, she's back, the greatest. And my feelings were, and I want to know what Dale's are, especially, and yours, Brock. But like, my feelings were meh. And the reason they were meh is because I would be a lot more excited if Kira was brought back in a TV series, or if she was brought back in a movie, or if she was brought back in really only those two things. Because for me, and this is the way I feel, even though the video game industry is bigger than the movie industry, the Star Wars video game industry is not bigger than the Star Wars movie industry. No. And I wouldn't be excited for her in a book or in a comic or any of that, because you are just putting her in like the secondary the third dairy market. The first is movies, second is TV, and it's like, if Emilia Clarke was back in something, a TV show or a movie, I would be way more excited for that character to return. This just kind of feels like, you know what, that character is back. Like, I was more excited for Saw Gerrera because Saw Gerrera, I saw Saw Gerrera die. His story ended in Rogue One, so everything you do is like gravy after that. But Kira, we just scratched the tip of the iceberg with Kira. We didn't get anything, and now they're like, well, she's in the video game. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I mean, yeah, people care, but not enough care. And so that was my feeling. I was a little disappointed. I mean, I'm not disappointed that she's in it. I'm disappointed that this is what they're. Oh, she came back. Did she though? Did she?
I feel like whenever they have any kind of new Star Wars content and they drop in a movie character, it's like, it's always, it's like, if I feel like that's when it's a slow news day where you're like, oh, I mean, like Han Solo, we see him in the trailer, like, cool, like, yeah, like, fun, like, or at the very least, it's like, this is your marker for where exactly this content, this thing exists in the saga storyline. I don't hate it. I mean, the story mode of Battlefront 2 with Iden Versio was always interesting, but it's like putting some of the characters in was kind of forced, right? Like, and then like you have that whole thing with Luke, and he has the books and the compass that like kind of are seen in the movies as well, and then nothing ever really comes of it. Like, it's like they think of they put these little drops in, and you're like, we could do something with it, but then they never do it. So it's sort of like it's lackluster. You don't get excited because you're like, oh, like I think one of the reasons I like High Republic because it's like if you read this book and then this like YA novel and this young reader's book and this like picture book and this comic, and you're like, oh, that's really fun. Like it doesn't. It's still kind of making the whole thing niche because it's like, who do you talk to about this, right? Like Star Wars is a prolific thing because it's like you'd watch it at home and then all of a sudden meet someone maybe like 2 or 3 years later is like, do you like Star Wars? And then you talk about Star Wars forever. But now it's like, now we're living in a time where like anybody's talking about Star Wars. Like someone at work's like, I don't know about this Rey movie. I'm like, what is this? It's hard to get excited about some things, or I mean, I guess you got to take it from your own personal interest, because it's like, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that love this game. So,
I'm not knocking the game or Kira in the game. Like that's all fine. But if this is like, if they're not using, if they're just gonna put her in this and pretend like this is fine, they're idiots. Not Ubisoft, I don't know, whatever. Not them. Just like I don't know. Just like I'm just
Just
annoyed.
have
You know
an
what?
opinion, man. It's fine.
No. My opinion is that it's annoying if they're just gonna
Yeah.
ship this character into a video game and comics and books and pretend that
Yeah.
no, her story finished in the books and stuff that nobody's reading, and the video game that a quarter of the Star Wars fan base.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, like and again, the video game industry is bigger, but the Star Wars video game industry is like Star Wars. I saw someone tweet this the other day, and they said
Twitter.
no. But this was no. I'm not going to talk about the negative stuff. But they said the movies should be canon and the books shouldn't be canon. And I was like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that. But then they were like, Star Wars is visual. And my thinking was, because you mentioned High Republic, and High Republic works so well because it's not bouncing off of any movies. It's not doing this and that. It uses like the future, like Yoda, like that, fine, but it doesn't rely on them. And you don't need to see this to understand that. Like they are like they're confined their own little canon bubble.
Yeah.
And I just think like when you start to do that with books, comics, video games, radio dramas, podcast, like you're just going crazy. It's like you can't keep up with it. So maybe they should start separating movies, TV shows, or one thing, and then everything is kind of like separate in a way, and the movies are like the pinnacle of it all, or the center of it. And like, because the books are, you know what books work the best when they put them in canon? Lost Stars and Catalyst. Like Catalyst, I think is the perfect High Republic aside, but Catalyst is like the perfect example of a book that ties into a movie that you don't need either one to really exist. Like they exist. I mean the opposite of what I just said. They exist perfectly fine on their own. It's like to me, like those are the strongest ones. And there's just when there's so much to like pay attention to, it's like, what are we paying attention to?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like there's no rules, there's like no no one can decide on rules on this because it's just like, yes, Lost Stars, great book, but like my wife's never read Lost Stars and she likes Star Wars stuff, so it's just like it's just an added thing. It's like and like. You had a visceral reaction to what I was doing on my camera, and I didn't even say anything. I was just like, I breathed really heavy at one point. And you're like, oh, like it's just like I think it's not even a matter of rules. It's like we're so afraid that we're gonna hurt each other's feelings. Like, who cares? Like it's just like you like it or you don't. Like it's.
But I'm not discrediting the books. It's just not.
Again, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings by not ingesting the content.
But there's some books that like, we're going to do our top 5 books, and there's some books I'm like, I genuinely love this book.
Sure.
But who friggin' like the movies and the shows are the only things that really matter in Star Wars. Like let's be honest, and not even the animated ones necessarily. And Bad Batch can be better than all the live action shows we've gotten. If it's not live action, it's not held to the same standard as everything else. That's just how it is. You know, that's how it is. Like the people you talk to who talk about Star Wars, they're not talking about the cartoons. They're talking about the movies. They're talking about Rian Johnson ruined their childhood. That's what they're talking about. Do you know what pissed me off when I was thinking Aftermath, the Aftermath trilogy? Because I was always like, these books could have been way better. And we were promised like the lead up to the Force Awakens. And now 9 years later, almost 10 years later, I'm looking at these books and I'm thinking what could have been. But I remember the first time I read the first book, and I always make fun of Nora Wexley dying 27 times. But then I'm thinking of poor rich Chuck Wendig, who was told, "Hey, write this story that's going to lead us here," but we have no idea what the plot is because we're making it up on the fly. So he has to he was more handcuffed than I think we thought he was handcuffed before, but now it's like he was probably really handcuffed. Because anything he wants to, they're like, well, we don't know if that's going to be the direction. Like, I'm betting, what was his bad guy's name? He had a bad guy in it. I remember. There was a bad guy who shows up at the end of the first book. He's like a general or something. And everybody was like, that's Snoke. And I'm wondering if that was supposed to be Snoke at one point. And then they were like, but that can't be Snoke because we have no idea what the hell's going on with Snoke. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the You know what? I want to see what James Gunn does with DC because he's doing the same crap where it's like the books, comics, and movies and video games are all going to tie in. And let's see how that works over there before I do it. Because I just feel like without a game plan, it can't work. Like you can make good books, but then you're gonna have people mad because Kanan was changed in the Bad Batch from the comic. Yeah, but 6 people read the comic book. It's now available at Dollarama. Like it's like that's what I want to see that because I just you start handcuffing yourself too much. There's no freedom to tell stories in other mediums, and that's where I'm at right now. It's like I will read a book and I'll appreciate it as the book, and and all the books are all like together, and all the stuff I watch on with my eyes are together, and the video games are all over here, and that's how I'm doing it. You know what? I'm not mixing my plate of food together. It's all separate in a little like I'm in prison.
Yeah.
It's all in different slots. That's how I'm enjoying my Star Wars. Good night, everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's just whatever. Like there's no reason to get bent out of shape about pretty much anything. Like it's just like it's like it's kind of hard to start like making calls on things that aren't even out yet, right? Like it's just like
you can't do that.
Yeah, it's just like I mean the new Jedi Survivor was like, well, that looks fun, and then luckily it was like well received by many people. I think our friend Daryl, he's gonna buy the second one, Star Wars, just because he's like, I need a new game. I heard it's really good. It's like I like the first one, so I'm sure the story's gonna be cool and the gameplay is fun. And yeah, I think he's just buying it on gameplay alone. But it's just like it's sort of like if we're getting trailers for these things, like we're talking about canon already. It's just like, why even bother until we know we like it, right? Because it's just like, or I don't know, maybe that's not fair. Like it's just sort of like all the movies and TV shows are canon. You might not like everything, and then do you discredit that? Like it just, and then you kind of stop and you're like, what the fuck am I talking about? Like it's just.
I think.
I don't know.
Well, I just think don't hide Kira away in a video game and be like, "Well, we brought her back." No one cares. I mean, everyone cares, but no one cares. What I'm saying, Brock, is I want to see what happens when she goes to Dathomir with Darth Maul. Just show me that in a TV show or a movie. I don't want to see that in a comic book.
I don't disagree. Yeah,
that was my thing. I'm like, okay, it's fine. She's here, but like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird to be like she's from a movie that they feel is a failure, so it's just like, but we like this character, which is fine. Like you could easily grab that character. Like Marvel Comics has made an industry of it. It's just like the Avengers were created from a bunch of characters that nobody wanted to read separately, right? And it works out. X-Men does the same thing. It's just like a character that was like nothing. Some writer got his hold on it and made it better. So it's just like, I mean, I referenced X-Men 97. Like, someone took that idea and be like, what if we did this type of story? It's like, and it's like, yeah, you could say, oh, that's a reference to this story from the book. But it's like, no, you made it your own. And then you also delivered it in a way that, in this was like, wow, that's wild. So it's just like, I don't know. It's I don't know why they're not making movies, I guess is my main point. I'm like, why are you not making movies?
Well, they are now. They got the Mando
allegedly
coming.
Allegedly.
They start shooting that in June, so I think that's happening. And then the Rey movie will shoot whenever that one allegedly, and then the other one they got a writer. But here's the thing, because the Rey movie, people now hate Rey. I guess like they fault everything on Rey, but I think one thing that I believe, don't quote me, but I believe Daisy really has been saying, and it kind of makes me more excited for the Rey movie, even though I was looking forward to it before. But now I'm like, oh, this might actually be a worthwhile experience to watch, is because she's making it sound like this wasn't like, oh, we need to do a Rey movie, or how do we get people back in the theater? Let's do a Rey movie. It was, the director or so, I believe, somebody approached Kathleen Kennedy or somebody with an idea and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I want to make this movie with Ray," and that is what I think these movies need to be in the future. They like don't just like be like, "Oh, we should make movie." Like, why do you want to make what movie? Like, someone come to
Yeah.
me with the
Yeah.
idea and make it a good and be passionate about the idea.
Mhm.
I don't want it to be the. I mean, you look at even Marvel. When Marvel started going downhill, it was all like, make this movie, make this movie, make this
Mhm.
movie, right? It wasn't that we're making it because we're passionate about, like, Iron Man 1, not to talk, I mean, it's not the only good Marvel movie, obviously. But if you go all the way back, that was like this weird kind of passion project where they were like trying to make a fun movie, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and obviously there were other movies that did that as well. But like, just go back to that and like, if somebody has a good idea for a Star Wars movie, don't break the bank on the budget on it, but give it to them, man. Like maybe it'll be a good movie. Give them like $100 million for Mando and Grogu. There's no way. Madam Web made $100 million. There's no way they're not making that back, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way. And, I mean, maybe not with if you add in marketing, but like there's like it just give it to the people that want to make it. Don't just churn them out. It's not
Yeah,
butter.
no, that's true. I mean, I think we've said many times in the last 5 years of this podcast, like, just have a plan. Like, have a general idea of where you're going to go, and then
Yeah.
let people do that thing.
You know what would be cool about the Ray movie too? Is if the Ray movie is just the Ray movie. And
Yeah.
let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, it's a big hit. Everybody loves it. It has all these cool characters, storylines, whatever. Make it the first one of a trilogy all of a sudden. It doesn't, like, leave it in a way that you're like, we could do more. And it doesn't have to be Ray in all three of them. Like, you know, Ray could be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ray could go the way of the dodo in it. But, like, I don't know, just make a good movie. And when someone, like, I just think listen to the filmmakers with the ideas of the Star Wars movies more than worrying about making a Star Wars movie. Because I'll bet you that, like, look at Ghostbusters Afterlife. Jason, that came out of nowhere. And I think it did pretty well critically, and it did pretty well financially. Well, they made a sequel, so it definitely did well financially. But it was somebody that wanted to make a movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's and I actually am one of the 14 people that like the 2016 female Ghostbusters movie. I actually quite enjoy that. But now I think people felt like it wasn't people that wanted to make a Ghostbuster movie. It was like that was a Ghostbuster for hire movie. And I think I don't know why I'm using that as an example, but like just if that's what excites me about the Ray movie. Why I'm not like it might be bad, but it's somebody's idea that wants to make it. And if they want to make it and it ends up being bad, God bless them, because it's not easy to make a good movie. So that's what I'm saying. I'm rooting for that movie because of that,
And then, like,
and I like Star Wars also.
and the daunting problem is, it's like you not only have to think up a good story, you have to convince like all these people that like when they watch Star Wars for the first time as children, they're like, wow. It's like you have to like reinvent that almost every time. Maybe you don't let that bog you down because you're just never gonna win. But it's like that is like I think that is the problem with Star Wars fans. It's like, oh, it's got to be this and that. I'm like, does it? Just let it go. You have TV shows, you have video games that are decent. Like it's just like just let it go and just either read it, write it, enjoy it, like and be that. Let it be that.
Yeah, and look at let's use the video games as an example: Jedi Fallen Order and Battlefront. Battlefront, people didn't like it, but it still sold a ton of copies. They're both very different games in a lot of ways, and it like, and Jedi Fallen Order felt like all of it felt like Star Wars, but it didn't feel like Star Wars that I had seen before. It felt like a new Star Wars within a world of Star. Like the ideas are out there, just somebody has to want to make it, and they got to trust the person to make it. Which is also it's also difficult to do that when you are Lucasfilm, who is owned by the Disney corporate. Like it's tough. It's tough because you've got to appease a lot of people who are going to sign up on a lot of money. And this is like Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar, and then like Mickey Mouse. Like that's Disney right now. Like those are Disney. And if you make a Star Wars movie that sinks, like Solo, that could be why Kira's not back, right? Because Solo only made $500 million. Who knows how much it costs to make? You make that movie, and your name's not Ron Howard, it might not be good for a lot of people.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like
because it's business.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Like it's,
Anyway,
books
suck.
would. I think it would be in their best interest to just release a movie without telling anybody. Do not put the Star Wars banner on it and see what the hell happens.
I'm so in agreement with you. Know what I was before we get to the odds. I'm not a big fan of movie critics anymore. I used to like actually read them and trust them. And like Siskel and Ebert, I used to watch every Sunday on TV. But now I'm like, I see them, and a lot of them. There's some really good ones. Don't get me wrong. And this isn't like everybody. There are some really solid ones, but there's so many now. It's just like I don't think they actually know what they're talking about. And my biggest problem with a lot of film critics, and this is true of fans also, is we take the baggage of what we know from behind the scenes into the movie with us.
Yeah.
And a lot of critics do that, and I don't like it. And like, because imagine like Solo, if we didn't know all the behind the scenes stuff, does that change Solo for people? I think it might. I think the people that still don't like Alden Ehrenreich still won't like him as Han Solo. You can't change that. But some people went in like, well, they did that. But you don't know what it was before. It could have been like, and I know the Spider-Verse movies are incredible, but we have no idea what that Han Solo movie was. We don't know. It could have been the worst thing ever. I mean, it could have been the best thing, but it also could have been the worst. We don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's best that we never know. But like, who knows? Like Spider-Verse is amazing, but and I think the Jump Street movies are great, but who knows? I don't know. We don't know. We just know what happened, and then people bring that baggage in, and I see that a lot in like critics things. Or like they start bringing these things in, like, well, you can't review a movie if you've already have a predetermined decision on it.
I don't know. So play the video game.
If I ever get a thing, I totally 100% will, because it looks like a blast. It does. And you get to see Kira again, which is the best. All right, never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds.
Oh, come on.
The possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds. Brought to you, me and everyone in the area by patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast. If you like what we do, why don't you support us at patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast and support us in any way you can. We greatly appreciate it because we love Star Wars. We like talking to each other, and we like to hear everyone's feedback, like the wonderful following people: Heidi Feder, executive producer; Barry Brophy; Dennis Allen; Randy Kenobi; Mary Kristen Aton; Dale Erdman; Phil Stanforth; Rez; Scott D; Josh Price;
Matt W., Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, Cosmic Girl 02, Gleek Play 1, Den of Nerds, Disney, Desi, Charlotte, Ron Prasak, and Jeff Wilson.
Thank you.
Applause. Thank you, everybody, for your support. It really means a lot to us. And today's odds are brought to you by all of you wonderful patrons. First odd, Kira will return in live. That is you, Dale. There you go. Kira will return in live action soon.
I kind of hope so. It'd be kind of cool. I'm gonna go 45%.
Wow, I'm gonna go 11.
Yeah.
Look, again, that movie bombed. It's a Star Wars. I would love to see Kira back. Like I said, her Darth Maul doing whatever's happening, and more Dathomir. We hear about Dathomir now in Ahsoka, so let's get more Dathomir. Our next thought: Mando and Grogu will bring back Quill, like in a flashback. Probably, I don't think he's coming back from the dead. Although it's Star Wars, no one really dies anymore. Flashback of Quill. They have the prologue is all just Quill narrating what happened. And then it ends with "I have spoken." Dun, 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 dun. Whoa.
I'm gonna go 10% on that.
Yeah, I don't look. It's 100%, but I'm gonna go 9%.
Yeah,
because look, Quill's my boy, but he's Gonzo. And our final odd today, Ahsoka season 2 will end Ahsoka's story. Ahsoka, I don't know if that means death or not, Brock, but Ahsoka's story will end with season 2 of Ahsoka.
I can't see it because Dave Filoni is probably going to continue working with Lucasfilm for a long time, so he'll find a way. Like, especially we know, or we assume at the end of Rise of Skywalker, she becomes one with the Force, so you can easily just drop her in anywhere as a Force ghost. Yeah. So I'm going to say 0%.
What if they did a Never Tell? What if we did a Never Tell Me the Odds? Her voice changes into Ashley Eckstein's voice.
Oh, that would be fun.
Then it would mesh into
the
Rise of Skywalker, making sense. I'm gonna go 20%. I'm going higher just because I went so low on the first two. That just
Solo.
Last name
Solo.
I'll put you down for Solo. I actually, you know what, we saw it twice. I really like Solo. I think it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I loved it.
That I actually almost watched it the other day, but instead I watched. What did I watch? I watched The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss instead, because those two movies are so similar. Those are my days. Like I watched, you know what? I watched that Invisible Man movie quite a bit. Shout out to Brett Hurd who did reshoots
that's right.
on that one. Top 5 canon novels. So I don't consider any novels canon. So I'm just joking. Look, I do consider them canon. I'm just saying it gets very confusing when you start to talk about what happened in a book to somebody who hasn't read anything in 27 years.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Master and Apprentice by Claudia Gray.
I'm gonna go. What did I really like? I like Catalyst. That was good. I forget by who.
It was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. So my number 5 is gonna be Catalyst.
And that's one of the ones that's not on my list, but one that I mentioned as being like, I like books like that though, where like they kind of set you up for the movie, but you don't like the movie's enhanced by it, but you don't need it for the movie. It's just I like those kind of things. My number 4 is you know what? Screw it. It's on my list now. Catalyst number 4. I don't even like my number 4, so I'm going to switch it to Catalyst. I won't tell you what my number 4 was, but it was just there because I put it there, and I don't actually like it.
I'm gonna go number 4 is Bloodline for me with Princess Leia tale. Like there's parts in it I was like, oh, that's cool. Kind of like describes Hosnian Prime to you a little bit. I can't remember how it ends. Oh, and then it sort of like sets up like, oh, there's something going on called the First Order. So
I liked that book, but I was slightly underwhelmed by it. I think I was expecting. I think that was my own. I still own it. I should reread it. I think it was my own doing. It was like I Attack of the Clones did for myself. Where like I think I was expecting it to be this, but it was actually this. Like so, I think I still enjoyed it because Claudia Gray is a hell of a writer. Number 3, Battlefront Twilight Company. I'm always going to push this book because I just think it's a really fun book, and it's just a fun book.
I've always wanted to read it because like the Mr. Bones character sounds awesome. Is that from that one?
No, that's in Aftermath.
Aftermath. Sorry.
You can read Aftermath. Look, Aftermath. I haven't read them in 8-9 years, whatever it's been. Give them a shot if you see them for cheap or free or whatever. They're not terrible. The first one took a long time for me to get into, but that could be because again, we were promised this is the road to the Force Awakens. This is the prequel to the Force Awakens. And instead you get like, it wasn't what they sold you on. And so it took a while to, I think if you view it like just as a book on its own, it's probably a lot better than, oh, I need to watch this before the Force Awakens. You don't. Like, there's no setup at all. What the hell was that guy's name? I need to find out that guy's name.
Oh, the general. My number 3 is going to be one we mentioned earlier today, Path of Deceit, one of the first books in Phase 2 of the High Republic. Because it's like, it has a bonkers ending where you're just like, oh, that's how you make the Jedi a little bit vulnerable without having a Sith. So, I'm going to put that in there.
Gallius Rax. I do want to read some High Republic. I will one day, but not today. One day. I'm reading Andrew Fantasia's book, and it's actually it's a good read. Number. Did I do 2? Am I on 2?
No,
I'm
you're
on
doing
2.
2 now.
I'm on 2. Another Claudia Gray book. This one's called Lost Stars. Lost Stars is a weird one because it's great. It came out the same day as Aftermath. It had a better cover than Aftermath. And my dad liked Lost Stars.
Wow.
So, and I tweeted Claudia Gray that, and she replied.
Yeah.
So, just saying, Ryan Johnson, you're not the only Star Wars writer to reply to me.
Nice.
A murder. Anyway, yeah, Lost Stars is a great book. It's just it's like a solid book, and it's parallel. It's such like a nice parallel story. And I'm going Lost Stars number 2.
Mine is going to be the first High Republic, which is Light of the Galaxy. No,
So I wanted to put that one on the list, and I was like, I couldn't find a list of the books, and I got annoyed, so I did.
God, the Charles Soule one. Stars of the Galaxy. Oh God, no! Light of the
Jedi.
Light of the Jedi. Thank you. That one's really good because it's just like it's a great. If you only read one High Republic, it's a great one to be like, this is the one. It sells the idea of what's going on, and if you like it, then you're gonna probably like most of the books. So yeah, that's my number 2.
You know what High Republic is doing well? I haven't seen the Acolyte yet, but it's giving a world for the Acolyte, an era for the Acolyte to live in.
Yeah.
Like a pre-existing era that doesn't exist to a lot of people. It's great. Like that's cool. And my number 1 is Lords of the Sith. I really, really enjoy this book. This book, Brock, is one where you get in Vader's head a lot. Where and not really a lot. It's basically Cham Syndulla is the lead character in this book, but it's Vader and Maul and Vader and Emperor go to that planet, and Cham's trying to like kill them all, and basically Vader he's like, oh yeah, I'm a master mechanic, and he does things like that, and you just see how he is. It was I really liked it's really good on a lot of levels, but I really liked how it was one of the only times I've really read or seen Vader where you're like, oh yeah, that's Anakin. It was they did a really good job of it. Was clearly Vader, but the traits of the traits of Anakin were still there, and so I really enjoyed that. And I think Padme gets a shout, he's like, oh, he remembers Padme at one point, and it's a really good book, but it's also a book that it doesn't need to exist. Right? It would be like a really fun mini series, and that would be it. You're like, that was good. Let's move on. I love it though.
My number 1 is going to be Lost Stars by Claudia Gray, just because it's a book that do you like Star Wars? You should read this because it doesn't really require. As long as you've seen the movies, you kind of get it. But I would also argue you could be like, hey, do you want a fun sci-fi book? Here you go. It's just
yeah.
I mean, I maybe you won't like as much if you don't know Star Wars, but it might be just on by itself. It's just oh, here's a fun star-crossed lovers sort of thing.
One of my favorite books when I was a kid, and I love this book, is called That Was Then, This Is Now by S.E. Hinton. It's a follow-up to the Outsiders, and one of my favorite. And I read the book. I was in grade 4. As a little kid, my mom made me read these books when I was a little kid. I think that's why I don't like drugs and violence anymore. Because these books, especially That Was Then, This Is Now. Anyway, but I remember reading this book, and the one thing that I loved in this book that's always lasted with me is Ponyboy shows up, and That Was Then, This Is Now. He's not a character in the book at all. He just they're at I think a party or a club or something, and Ponyboy comes out and he goes, hey, blah blah blah, and they have a little talk, and then he leaves, and he's just a side character. That if you've read The Outsiders, you're like, oh, that's Ponyboy. If you haven't, he's just a character that shows up. And I love that. And that's what Lost Stars does with Leia. I mean, Leia is a bigger presence, obviously. But it kind of reminded me of that where oh yeah, I know Leia from that. But if you don't, she's described enough in this book that she's it's enough of a character to get the point across of what they're doing. And exactly. I just wanted to just shout out That Was Then, This Is Now by us. Underrated. No, but that was one thing I looked. Sorry, what?
Not to be confused with Now and Then.
There's a character. Have you ever read That Was Then, This Is Now?
No.
There's a character called Eminem in it. Eminem's, I think it's Eminem, and he gets addicted to acid in it. But when I was a kid, this is how awesome I was. I'm reading it like it's dipped from Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
So anytime anyone talks about acid, I always think of Dip from Roger Rabbit. And then my mom like had like she's like, James, stop. It's not good. I was like, oh. And that's and yeah, so and that's why that and Spider-Man comics, where it was like anti-drug comics, were really a big influence on my child.
Who is it? Is it Nancy Reagan that pushed no drugs, or was it Barbara Bush? I think it was both of them. It was like, which president's first lady was like, don't do drugs? Well, okay.
Anyway, that Lost Stars is I don't know. If anyone hasn't read that book, I don't know how you have it. If you're actually like, if you're a diehard Star Wars fan who reads everything and does everything, that's one that you can't miss out on. Mm-hmm. All right, episode 320.
320.
100 Boom. Away from the big time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's episode 420. I will just read that was then, this is now.
This is like my secret identity, where it just takes over the show.
Can't go that far again. All right, let's wrap it up because I gotta get some sleep.
Right on.
Thanks, Brock. This was fun. Go Blue Jays, go. Maybe they won't suck tomorrow. We don't know. They probably will. Let's be real.
Who can say?
But as long as I'm gonna hopefully get to a game this summer, and hopefully they will. Dude, I will say this though: the Skydome, Rogers Center, the ballpark. Let's just call it the ballpark. It looks great.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. Our friend Daryl was showing me pictures like of the off season of it, and I was like, oh man, it looks. And then when I see it on TV, I'm like, it doesn't look like the Skydome anymore. Whatever the hell's called, it doesn't look like it anymore. It looks like it looks slick. So I don't know how it is from your vantage point, but from mine, it looks good.
Yeah, it seems nicer. I don't know. It's all the same to me. I look at just all I see on my monitors half the time is green field. So I'm like, yeah.
But the green is a nicer green though.
Sure. I remember when I started there, they're like, we're going to put grass in here. I'm like, you're never going to do that. Why bother?
Yeah. Well, times change. All right, everybody. 320 of the Rebel Scum podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a like and subscribe. Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel Scum.
Scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.